my name is Jamil and welcome to Jamil's Journey to JD. On my channel today, I'll be talking to you about the law school admission test, better yet known as the Lsat, and I'll be sharing with you how I increased my Lsat score by 15 points and also things I wish I knew when studying for the Lsat. So if you are ready for this video, make sure you stay tuned for the tips and tricks. So the law school admission test, for those of you who don't know, score from a 120 to a 180. 120 being the lowest that you can get and 180 being the highest that you can get. And there are a number of schools that fall within that range. And depending on where you score can have an impact on where you apply and get admitted to. So something that I didn't know is that some law schools don't even require that you take the Lsat. Some schools will accept a GRE, which stands for a Graduate Records Exam, and so they will take that score in place of the Lsat. So I do hear that there are some schools that will favor your Lsat scores if you have taken it recently over your GRE scores. Now that's something that I would recommend you looking into and calling the admissions department of your desired school just to kind of see what their procedures are when it comes to standardized testing. So the Lsat consists of 3 different types of sectioning. So one section is called the logical reasoning section, and the other one is called the analytical reasoning or logic game section, and the other one is reading comprehension. So reading comprehension is your standard reading comp that I'm sure you've taken before, seen in the SATs. For example, you read a long passage and you have to answer a few questions regarding the passage. The next section that we have is the logical reasoning section, and this section I would say is one that tests your ability to reason with logic. And so it tests your ability to strengthen an argument, weaken an argument, finding the inferences, finding the necessary assumptions, and so on and so forth. There are a plethora of different question types, but that is what mostly tests your ability to logically infer what the passage is trying to do, strengthen whatever the set assignment is or direction is of that question. So analytical reasoning, or the logic game sectioning, a lot of people say is most equivalent to doing a seating chart at a wedding. So, you know, there are some couples that come in together that must be seated at the same table, or maybe you have 2 family members that don't get along, and so you have to make sure they stay far apart. You know, so those are the kind of conditions that are placed in the logic games or analytical reasoning section, and you're responsible for making sure that everything is in alignment according to the conditions. So that personally was my most favorite section, just because I found it to be somewhat of like a puzzle, and I was really good at logic games. So some of the things that I wish I knew or thought about during my law school admission test journey and studying for the exam was how much time it was going to take for me to get there. So I think when I started, I first of all didn't know where I wanted to go, didn't know where I wanted to score on the exam, and I didn't really know how much it was weighed in the application process. So I think it's important for you to decide if, you know, a certain school is on your list, whether it's you know, a highly competitive school, whether or not you want to graduate law school with minimal debt, because your law school admission test also is considered in your law school application process in terms of merit-based scholarships, and so that's something you want to consider. Sometimes your Lsat score can open the door for you to have a full ride scholarship, so that's something for you to consider. What's most important to you? Is geographical area most important? You know, do you have a family? And that's something that you need to consider in terms of where you decide to apply to law school. So there might be a number of things that influence, you know, where you go and, you know, the score that is needed or required for you to get into the door. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned when studying for the Lsat is to go slow and steady. You know, focus on mastering the fundamental understanding of the test. You know, take your time in understanding sentence structure, understanding the different question types, how to understand conditional logic, There are a number of things that need to be done on the foundational level that you just cannot skip. Also, don't be afraid to switch out your materials when something isn't serving you anymore, or you feel like you need to switch up the different resources that you have. So a resource that I would recommend is Seven Sage. So Seven Sage has not only all the test prep, all the past exams, they also have videos that break down every single question. They also have analytics so that you can see how you're doing with the easy questions or the hard questions, or how you're doing on reading comprehension. Like, it literally breaks it all down. And so I definitely recommend the Seven Sage. You plug in where you want to start, what day you want to start, and what day you plan on taking your exam. It creates a whole syllabus for you. And what I like the most is that I can structure my studying based on what questions I wanted to see that day. So if I wanted to mix it up and throw in a few logic games, throw in a few reading comprehension passages, throw in a few strengthening questions from the logical reasoning sectioning, I was able to create my own practice test doing that. If you're looking for a more inexpensive route, I would also recommend Khan Academy. They have those same analytics where you could program in the date in which you want to start studying, and the date in which you want to do the exam. And it creates a whole syllabus for you as well. They have easy, medium, and difficult questions. So I highly recommend using that as well if you're looking for a more inexpensive way, because this process is very expensive, and save the money where you can. That's my biggest tip. I cannot stress enough how important it is to take practice exams. Take full length practice exams. And once you're done, go back and review those questions. If you have accommodations, I would also suggest that you take those exams with your extended time. So taking the test without accommodations and taking it with accommodations are two different things. That stamina that's required for the different exams is really important. So you want to make sure you practice with that time frame. And also, going back to that, you don't have to get every single question correct in order to score high on the exam. That's also a myth. You want to make sure you hit as many points as you can correctly, but you don't need to rush through to get through the exam. If you also find yourself struggling between two answer choices on a question, because that was often one of my biggest hurdles, I would also recommend doing a closer and deeper reading. Oftentimes, it's the difference between soft language versus strong language. And by that, I mean, like, one answer choice could have the word most, and another answer choice could have some. The other one, some other common traps I saw was confusing the sufficient and the necessary conditionings. And my last tip is to just give yourself grace. The law school admission test is really hard, and it is oftentimes like learning a new language. And if you have other obligations going on, it might be hard for you to consider those other elements and feel like, man, this is really hard, or man, I'm not worthy, or this is really difficult. It is very hard, and it challenges your mental and emotional well-being. So it's important that you give yourself grace. It's like learning a new language or learning a new skill. You have to give yourself time to learn and reinforce your learnings. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. You can do it, and you can get to the school where you need to be, and you will end up being right where you need to be. So just do your best, figure out what's most important to you, take the exam when you see your practice scores are reflecting the range in which you want to be according to the school you want to go to. If your goal is, hey, I just want to get into law school, you can get into law school. It depends on where you would like to go, but you can get in. And so just give yourself just time, grace, and patience, and you'll end up right where you need to be. So if you enjoyed this video, I want you to go ahead and give this video a like and also subscribe and share it with a friend. And this platform isn't just for people who are taking the Lsat or going to law school. I'm here to provide people with motivation and help you chase your dreams. So go ahead, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jamil's Journey to JD. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!